All right, friends, it's T and I'm back with another video, and JasonBlaha, our fitness gym slave, has made another video for us to review, man. This guy's on a roll. I swear he's saturating the internet with all his crazy videos, but this is going to be fun, man. Let's check this out. What does JasonBlaha say? He says, there is zero consistency in how top bodybuilders train. Oh, interesting. Okay. There is zero consistency in how top pro bodybuilders train. Okay.
Hey everybody, it's JasonBlaha here. I thought I would sit down, do another video for you guys and gals. Let me get a sip of my water first, get my...
And again, he's drinking that cheap stuff we used to drink when we were kids. Kool-Aid when we were poor. Pennies, I remember there were pennies on the dollar. You could buy a pack of Kool-Aid, like a Kool-Aid package. I think it was like 5 cents, man, at the corner store. But you'd have to have sugar at home because you'd have to add the sugar. It's just some weird stuff, and then the sugar really flavors it up.
Beautiful radio voice going. Let's talk about this. All right, everyone, whenever training comes up, they always want to reference pro bodybuilders. And they want to say, because this guy's in the top 5 at the Olympia, and this year, his training must be what we should do. Okay? The problem is none of their training looks alike. And I'll get into that in a minute.
What? How is any of the training that these artificial, fake, cosmetic bodybuilders, they're training, how is that going to translate to somebody doing it in the natural world, in the real world? I think this guy lives on like some fucking weird planet. Like, hello, the natural world, the fake world, does he know the difference between the two? What's the matter with you, Jason?
Of why you can't draw any conclusions at all on the proper way to train, even to build muscle or to become a pro bodybuilder who places in the...
Look, I gotta tell you the truth, man. People ask me all the time before in the past, they were like, hey, you should train, or no, you should compete, you should compete. I don't know. Maybe I should have. Maybe I should have. I don't know. But the thing is, I never saw myself, I was upset because I was like, why should I compete with people who are taking drugs? What would be the point? It's impossible to win with cosmetics. It's like you're going to a competition that is based on who's got the best cosmetics on her face. A woman shows up there natural without cosmetics. Like, how the fuck could she win in that competition when the competition is based on who has the best cosmetically made up face with colors and shit and all this that you bought from like Avon? Okay? Let me see. Let me go to a bodybuilding fucking competition where everybody's injecting cosmetics, right? Women use external cosmetics to look pretty. Men use steroids. Okay? And so they're taking cosmetics and going to a competition, and you're going to show up there. You're going to show up there without any cosmetics. To do what exactly? See what I mean? It's fake. It's all bullshit because it's based on, it's cosmetic. If people don't understand what cosmetic means, it means it could be washed off. It goes away. It's dependent. The cosmetic look is dependent, providing you take those cosmetics. Once they're gone, once you stop taking the cosmetics, that cosmetic look and whatever else they're doing there is gone. That's all. I would say it's a byproduct. Steroids, that look is a byproduct. Since they're enhanced performing, it's a byproduct.
Top 5 at the Olympia. Now, let's set aside the biggest problem, because again, the training style is an issue, but let's assume...
Yeah, it's an issue. It's not going to work for any natural person, their training style. They could have done anything and got pumped. Get the pump. I'm not saying you can't get pumped as a natural lifter. You can eat shitloads of bowls of potatoes. It'll increase IGF-1. There won't be a spike in insulin. That will relatively make you anabolic too, I would say. I don't know. And yeah, but you're not building muscle. You're not damaging muscles. So what's the point of doing that? Look, the potato could be used as a catalyst to increase IGF-1 and stuff, insulin, which is anabolic. It's not going to spike your insulin. And so you repetitively damage your muscle fibers I don't know, again, how to explain this to people. Unadapt, adapt, and adapt to your exercises. So you could get relatively a certain amount of muscle damage. And then you eat these potatoes, they increase IGF-1. Bah. You eat a shitload of protein as well. And here's the thing: if you're not eating enough protein, the carbohydrates will spare that protein to build that muscle, still keeping you anabolic. The whole point is to stay anabolic. Shitloads of potatoes, shitloads of protein. You most likely will not be able to down so much protein, but you will be able to down more complex carbohydrates, and then it'll make you anabolic. But here's the thing: you too are going to gain a lot of sarcoplasmic in that process. There will be a buildup of sarcoplasmic. In the end, you're going to have to wing off the carbohydrate and see what is left over. I can't tell you. Seeing density as opposed to mass on a myofibrillar, it'll still get massed up at the same time. You get more myofibrillars, you get some more mass, that makes you even stronger. Contractile proteins make you stronger, more myofibrillars make you stronger, all these things make you stronger.
This first part isn't, but it is. A couple things to consider. Genetics and copious of stuff.
Genetics and copious amounts of steroids. That's what he was just saying before I got cut off there. Yeah, it has nothing to do with genetics, man. It's temporary. It's cosmetic. You're injecting plant genetics in your body. That look is the toxicity, and then also it's enhancing your performance to molecules. They're doing something. They're working synergistically together, yeah, to create a temporary look.
Okay. And when I say that, I want to be clear. We're talking ridiculous levels. We're not talking about what the bro at the gym who you know does. Okay.
See, he's talking. They're doing ridiculous amounts of steroids. Look, man. Again, everything is based on an adaptation in the human body. When you take drugs, they stop working. So you need to keep injecting more. So people think, well, they're injecting high dosages of steroids. That's what's making them so big. Listen, man, I've seen people take fucking one shot every 2 weeks of like Sustanon 250. And they got fucking massive on 10 cc's, okay? All they did, they showed me a 10 cc bottle. They took one shot every 2 weeks, and they just looked fucking massive. And so what? They said the pumps were out of this world. Duh, it's sarcoplasmic, bro. It's fake muscles. So what? So what? Providing the circulating of the Sustanon, even though he took 10 cc's, that was it. He got so big. That Sustanon can stay in your blood for a whole year, so it can sustain this sarcoplasmic look for an entire year. But after a year, it goes away. It goes away. It goes away. Plus, the strength starts to go away too. That fake strength from the molecules, they do dissipate.
You need to understand these are professional bodybuilders whose entire livelihood depends upon them being the biggest, most jacked monster they can possibly be.
Yeah, so when the drugs adapt, that's why they have to spend so much more money. They have to increase the dosages because your body is rapidly adapting to the steroid, and it's not working anymore. It stops working. Your body repairs and remodels muscles stronger. It's adapted, so is not working anymore. Get it, bro?
Okay. They are not conservative with this, to say the least. And I would go so far as to say what I've said for over a decade, and I've heard of, and I originally got this from someone who wrote a book on this years before.
What?
Well over 20 years ago. Or I remember them reading it. It was a coach saying this, that look, I'm paraphrasing because I've kind of put my own spin on it. It's like, look, the average pro bodybuilder who is making it to the Olympia is so genetically gifted for gaining muscle, so genetically gifted in their muscle insertions, okay, and their response.
That's all lies. They're making it up, and so is he, man. They're not genetically gifted in muscle insertions, okay? They have no muscle when they go off the drugs. They even look worse.
To the stuff.
This person is mentally ill, mentally sick. I'm telling you, Coach Blaha is mentally sick. He's a sick person.
Genetic response to that. They don't even have to lift weights. In other words, not saying to be where they are, but if they simply did some jumping jacks or burpees, maybe a few push-ups, a couple times a week, but they did everything else that they do in terms of having their genetics and taking all this stuff, they would still be the most jacked guy in the gym. They would.
Yeah, what's making them jacked from the burpees? It isn't lifting heavy weights. It's sarcoplasmic. It's based on ATP. It's an energy source. Duh.
Walk into your gym right now, and they would be the most jacked guy in that gym, even compared to the guy who's at your gym, odds are, who isn't natty and who trains really hard.
I'm natty and I train really hard and I can compete with steroid people, bro. Get it? And I'm even old. I'm talking about in the past, definitely blow them away. And now that I'm older, I don't really put a lot of effort into it. But the more effort I put into it now, even in my old age, I can still blow away these steroid people.
Just did some burpees and some jumping jacks and a couple push-ups. That's all it would take. They would still be ridiculous.
That's just goofy stuff. A couple of jumping jacks and burpees, yeah, okay.
Jacked. And I do mean ridiculously jacked.
Okay. What's jacking them? You think protein gives you a pump? You think protein pumps you up? How much protein do you need to build muscle? How does steroids build a muscle, Blaha? Tell me something. How do they build muscles?
So you have to factor that in. Right? So let's get that clear right up front. But then when you start looking at the training, especially if you go back multiple generations, because are you going to say the current Mr. Olympia? Is that what you're going to follow? Because to be honest, he didn't look that good compared to some of the previous generations, right? Let's be honest. That physique wouldn't have won the Olympia 10 years ago. Okay, let's be clear. Current Mr. Olympia would not have won 10, 15 years ago. He would not have won. But let's set that aside. So, how do pro bodybuilders train? Do they train strict with perfect form and full range of motion? Or do they do crazy cheat reps and partials? Well, Little Caesar slices and sticks. Because there are guys, if you go and really watch
I'll tell you what they do. They do whatever it takes. That's what they do.
their training, and I can think just off the top of my head, I'm not going to go into a bunch of different ones, but just immediate ones. Someone who, when you watched him train, it was strict.
You notice he's really obsessed with bodybuilders now all of a sudden? Remember all that gay for pay and all this? JasonBlaha used to really come down on bodybuilding. Like, he used to really come down. Why? I don't know. He thought he was so superior, and all he does is powerlifting. Bodybuilders do powerlifting and bodybuilding. They do everything. They're super strong. Bodybuilders are strong. These people, the ones that are on drugs, they're just as strong as powerlifters, and powerlifters probably just as strong as a bodybuilder. They're equally as strong because they're both taking drugs. I've never seen a bodybuilder not lift anything heavy. Have you? They're all lifting heavy. Go look at the old school, new school, whatever. They're all lifting heavy. Look at Bumstead. Look how much he squats. Look how much he deadlifts. Look how much he lifts. Look at all these bodybuilders. Look how much they lift. Are you telling me the people that are taking steroids are not lifting heavy? They're lifting heavy. Look at the Trent twins. They're benching 500. They're not even Olympians. Hello? Because they're taking a molecule. It's an enhanced performing drug. This is ridiculous to say that one group of people that are taking drugs are stronger than the other group that are taking drugs. What the fuck, da? Hello, da? This is fucking retarded.
Everything pretty high rep, nothing super heavy, everything for a full range of motion. Almost no cheating, like very clean reps to a...
I'm going to tell you right now, none of that training is going to work for somebody that's trying to build something permanent, like something sustainable, permanent in the bodybuilding world. I'm not saying you can't look like these steroids, so-called cosmetic look. You could have a look very similar, close but you're never going to look like somebody on steroids. Never. You're never going to have that look. And it's competition. They're doing specific things to cut. They don't look like that all the time off competition, though they look pretty good, I would say, off competition, lifting in the gym. But you're not going to walk around contest ready all the time in the street. That's just stupid. So yeah, none of these people are. And they're on drugs, bro. It's crazy.
Full range of motion, controlled eccentrics, everything. Phil Heath, okay, right? Again, just a bit of his training that I've seen, right? That's one.
Man, what is full range of motion going to do? If you're a natural person, you need to arm yourself with everything. You need to do partials. You could go heavy with partials. Why? Because you're focused on the eccentric movement. In my community section, I post lots of stuff. Everything comes back to eccentric movement. It is the only thing that will get you an adaptation. It is the overworking of an unfamiliar or untrained muscle. Do you understand me? That's what it is. To get a new adaptation. And sometimes you need to move up incrementally in weight. It's not that you stay with the same weight or with the same exercises to get a new adaptation. So there you go. And that is based on myofibular growth. Why? Because the contractile proteins is really hard to build on a muscle. See what I mean? You could keep building slowly by getting more dense muscles. At least that is more sustainable. It's permanent. It'll hang around. It's permanent. It'll stay. It'll hang around. But if you're just focused on building, being adapted in a gym to your exercises, and then trying to catch up with the Joneses, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna eat protein, there's an open window, and I'm gonna build more contractile proteins, and I'm gonna mass up my myofibular, that is almost, man, you're skating uphill. It's really, really hard. You need to be in an anabolic growth state to shut off that catabolic hormone.
But then lots of people think Branch Warren is an amazing bodybuilder. You watched him train?
Yeah, I don't really particularly like Branch Warren's physique.
You ever watch Branch Warren train? He pretty much turns everything into a muscle clean, right? Every single exercise that he does is a absurd amount of cheating. Even when he curls, he uses leg drive and body swing.
No, he's not. He's trying to get eccentric movements. That's the adaptation process. You think he's stupid? He didn't know about eccentric exercises to get you adaptations? They're in that world of bodybuilding. Why wouldn't they investigate everything? They are armed with coaches and money and people, science, all the stuff that they need. What the fuck?
All over the place. Okay? That's how he chooses to train.
Dude, he trained really heavy, which is not necessary on steroids. It's just show and tell.
Still plays really well at the Olympia. Was he still considered, within the last generation to be one of the top bodybuilders in the world? But these training styles are completely incompatible. So, does anyone see the issue here? Do you guys ever watch Arnold train? Did it ever look that strict to you?
Here, I'll tell you something. When it comes to sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, you don't need to train heavy. That's why people say, I could train and build muscle with light weight. You are building muscle with lightweight sarcoplasmic muscle. Like I said, anytime people are telling you you're building muscle in a gym, you are building muscles in a gym. You're building sarcoplasmic muscles. That's what builds in gyms. You want to know what builds outside the gym? Myofibulars. When you get damage.
Tons of people will say, well, that's an older generation. Okay, fine. Tons of people loved Arnold.
Here's the thing. You could literally mass up your myofibulars just eating protein. As long as protein synthesis exceeds that breakdown, you'll see growth in your myofibulars. They'll start to mass up. That's why I say focus on food. You should focus on your diet first, and then everything else comes after. Whether you want to damage muscles repetitively, adapt, adaptations, whatever, to try to grow more myofibular growth density. Then if you want more mass, I told you, protein synthesis needs to exceed that breakdown. Now, if you want to build muscle in a gym, just eat shitloads of bowls of potatoes and lift weights. And guess what? It's not based on an adaptation process. It is based on ATP energy. That's what it's based on. So there's nothing how should I put it, hindering that growth. It's not based on follistatin, and the satellite cell do not control sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. You can load shitloads of it in your muscles. They'll mass up like crazy. So are fat cells. They're not overseen by that domain.
You ever watch how he trained? It was mostly sheet reps and swing, a lot of swinging, very little strict stuff. Even his concentration curls were very loose. Did he have arguably the most impressive physique of his generation? Right? How about heavy versus light? Well, again, we could use Kai Green. We could use Phil Heath. People say, well, Phil Heath, Mr. Olympia, so that means something. Well, how about you compare Kai Green with Ronnie Coleman? Ronnie beat Kai Green over and over and over. Ronnie trained insanely heavy. I mean, Ronnie's lifts were what you would expect from an elite world level power lifter. Okay?
That's a lie. He's comparing powerlifters with bodybuilders. What are you talking about? They're all on steroids. They all can lift heavy. They all lift heavy, and they all can lift heavy. The only difference between the powerlifter and the bodybuilder moves for more repetitions because in his mind, he's trying to get an adaptation through muscle damage, but he's all tapped out. I told you, the body rapidly adapts. So it's just they're pushing this weight, but they don't even realize. They're like, well, I'm getting a pump, but they don't realize they're actually just creating sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. You only get so many adaptations. It taps out at some point. Unless, of course, you figured out how to repetitively get out of the adaptation and back into adaptations. It's a technique. It's not easy. Not a lot of people understand it. Not a lot of people know how to get these adaptations to come back. Me, I'm a practice seasoned athlete, bro. I know how to bring them back. I know how to get them. I know just about everything what I'm looking for to build any kind of muscle. And I understand the difference between all these muscle types, what they do, how to get these adaptations according to the type of muscle fiber. I know what type of hypertrophy is out there. I know all the hypertrophies, bro. I know just about everything when it comes to bodybuilding, and I know everything when it comes to even strength training, how to get stronger. I've always known that if you focus on an eccentric movement and just the negative without the concentric, literally you could do eccentric movements without the concentric movement. Now you're gonna have to have friends in the gym maybe help you, or you could just use certain machines, it'll do it for you. There are some that are out there that you could just do the eccentric movement heavy. Like, for example, I was on the Smith machine. Now I'm working on OHP. So what did I do? I load up two 45-pound plates on each side, and I just allow it to go down slowly in the eccentric negative without a concentric push. Okay, so I stand up on the seat, I pull the thing back up again, I sit down, and then I lower it again. And I do this repetitively for a couple of sets. That's it, and a couple of reps. And eventually my OHP will be stronger. I'll be able to push it. You understand me? And I won't have to go through I have to start with the lightweight and keep working my way up. You understand? That's the whole point. The more adaptations you can get in that movement, in the muscle, it'll calibrate, make it stronger. But people don't even understand that. What's making them strong, calibrate, what is this muscle damage? They don't have any clue or idea what that is.
Ronnie Coleman would have had no trouble being competitive at world events in powerlifting. Had he just said, I'm just going to switch sports right now.
All bodybuilders could be competitive at these world events, providing they conform or practice to what these people are doing as well. Even strongmen, they're all on drugs, bro. They're all on drugs. They're all on drugs. They're all faking it. It's all hands performing. They're all the same.
He did do powerlifting all the time, right? He would have had no problem. He lifted.
Bodybuilding is powerlifting. Fuck.
Really, really heavy. Even right before the Olympia, he's like, I'm over here doing 800-pound deadlifts for 2 reps 2 weeks out from the Olympia. I would rep 500 pounds on the bench press, wide grip. Okay, that's how he trained. Guy Green's over here throwing around sometimes 95 pounds on barbell lifts. Okay, so which is the correct? How about volume? How about days per week? How many top pros train 6 days a week? How many train 4? What's the answer? See the issue? So
they train how they feel is appropriate for them. That's how.
So
It's meaningless. It's, man. They're endurance athletes at this point. They're lifting every day. You're adapted to these exercises. It's sarcoplasmic. That's why it goes away so fast. They're always complaining about. I woke up this morning yesterday. I lost 10 pounds or 15 pounds. How the hell do you lose 10, 15 pounds overnight? That's just crazy. Sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. That's why these bodybuilders were always complaining about losing weight, gaining, losing, gaining. Look at Larry Wheels. Went to competition, 230, went to the Golden Griddle. In 5 days, he gained 53 pounds of what? What kind of muscle is that? It's sarcoplasmic, bro. You can't put on 53 pounds of contractile proteins in 5 days eating at the Golden Griddle, even if you are on steroids. That's ridiculous. No such thing's going to happen. And again, the muscle has a nuclear domain. It needs these nuclei synthesized protein to further that domain, ... It's complicated.
we can conclude that how does a pro bodybuilder train to be in the top 5 in the world at any given year looking back through the last few generations? How does a top bodybuilder train? Somewhere between 4 and 6 days.
How do they train? They inject steroids. That's how they train. They inject steroids. Yes, Blaha.
Week. Their rep range being somewhere between 2 and 50 reps.
Yeah, I've done that. I've done it. Like I just said that in my last video. I've done reps as high as 60, sometimes more. I've done 100 reps. I've repped out like 100 reps, sometimes. Depends.
And they do anything between full range of motion, really.
They are doing that because they're looking for a new adaptation, for sure, even in myofibrillar growth. Think about that for a second.
Strict controlled exercises.
See, in their mind, they're thinking, well, if I lift heavy, the cell it'll make the cell bigger. No, if lifting heavy doesn't make a muscle cell bigger. You understand me? It disrupts the muscle cell. There's a disruption, the coupling system. But lifting heavy doesn't make that cell bigger. Lifting heavy gets you an adaptation in muscle damage. And then you get a donation of these nuclei to further that domain and so forth and so on, synthesize proteins, and you get more myofibrillar growth. Without more myofibrillars, you can't push that domain.
All the way up to ludicrous, insane, flopping, looking like they're cheating on everything. Okay, there's your answer. Do you anyone see the issue? Yet they all were winning. I mean, in terms of bodybuilding accomplishment, if you're placing at the Mr. Olympia, you're one of the best in the world. Yet there is no consistency at all in the training styles. None. Zero.
Because they're on steroids. It'll give you that effect, the ATP, the sarcoplasmic. They probably figured it out. They tapped out in what do you call it? These adaptations. They only got so many more adaptations. There wasn't many there. They tapped out in them. And so what takes over in trained people? I've read this before for you. 6 weeks of training. Trained people get what? Sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. Look it up, PubMed. Fuck. It's a known fact. If you're a trained athlete, you're an endurance athlete now, coming in often to the gym. So it becomes endurance. So if it's endurance, think about it. If it's endurance and you're eating carbohydrates, the carbohydrate will load. For every gram of carbohydrate, 3 grams of water drawn into the muscle. So if I'm not eating carbohydrates, but I am training every day in the gym, right? And eventually I'm tapped out in these adaptations. I'm on a carnivore diet. What am I going to get? What am I going to get? I'm not going to get bigger. I'm not going to get maybe slightly some contractile proteins. I don't know. A bit there. I'm not gonna get bigger eating a protein diet as a trained person because there's no more adaptations to build muscle. So, and I'm not eating carbohydrates, so I'm not gonna get any sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. But I can guarantee you, make a test. Tell your friend to eat complex carbohydrates. You train every day with him together, and you eat protein, and he eats carbohydrates. See which one is going to get bigger, faster. The first one that's going to get massed up like crazy. See the difference?
That's why you can't really draw meaningful conclusions unless you say, well, however the current Mr. Olympia trains is how I'm going to train. Then you have to change your training style a lot. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that.
Man, this is delusional drug person on TRT telling you these things because he's on drugs, lifting on his channel. He's a lifting slave. He's a steroid slave, lifting slave, gym slave. Yeah, he's all tapped out of adaptations. He never built any muscle, JasonBlaha. He's never built any muscle. He might have gotten some newbie gains in the beginning, but he's never built any muscle because it's based on an adaptation process. I'll see you in the next one, friends. Tell me what you think about that. Like, subscribe, support the channel, comment down below. Helps with the algorithm, bro. We need support, man. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.